Uruguay, La Celeste, the Sky Blues. One of history's most storied national teams in international soccer. This match was a grunge fest. It was a slug fest. We knew that this was going to be a very tight-knit game. It's going to be a battle, not just of Cavani, Suarez, and Ronaldo, but it's going to be a battle of center backs. It was going to be a defensive battle as well. And Uruguay proved once again why defensively they are a force to be reckoned with in this tournament. The backline pairing of Godin and Jimenez, solid, really loving it. And Pepe's goal against Uruguay, not to take it away from Pepe, but it was through a defensive gaffe. So thus far, it's a team in the quarterfinals that hasn't conceded any goal except the one against Portugal. Conceded one goal. And heading into the tournament, they didn't concede any goals in friendlies, dating back to a loss last year against Austria. But since then, Uruguay hadn't conceded any goals before heading into this match. It sort of helps to keep clean sheets when you play Saudi Arabia and Egypt, but at the same time, Uruguay look really solid this year. There's something about Uruguay this year. They look really solid. And Cavani scoring two of Uruguay's most clutch goals of the tournament thus far. I think that his good friend Luis Suarez has a little bit of catching up to do in that regard, especially if Cavani is off injured for the France game, which if he is, that's a really big blow. That would be a really big blow to Cavani and for Uruguay if he can't play the next game against France. If he can, I think they're in business. Because I don't read too much into the France-Argentina game because this Argentina team is in shambles, but at the same time, Mbappe, possibly best young player of the tournament. But anyway, this is Uruguay-Portugal. This is not a preview for Uruguay and France in the quarterfinals. That's going to be a great game. That's going to be a fantastic game, by the way. But in this match, where did Portugal go wrong? I think really what went wrong with Portugal in this game, a lot of their forwards didn't step up in this tournament. They scored 5 goals in this tournament. No, 6 goals in this tournament. 4 of them coming through Cristiano Ronaldo, and it helps to have one of the best players in a generation on your team. But this was a problem that Portugal had in the group stages. They didn't really have anyone that stepped up. We were told that Guedes was going to be possibly a breakout star of a tournament. He was a massive disappointment. Adrian Silva, I hardly noticed his presence at the time on the field. Other than Quaresma's strike against Iran and, Pepe scoring off a corner here in this match, I didn't think CR7 really had the supporting cast that he could have had in this tournament. Defensively, he did. But up front, coming up against this defensive setup that Uruguayan manager Oscar Tabarez has them. And Oscar Tabarez, this guy, is quite special because he has totally revamped Uruguayan football. He's been the manager for Uruguay since 2006. This is his 3rd World Cup with them. He came in soon after when Uruguay failed to qualify for the 2006 World Cup. Uruguay really in the dark ages then. And Uruguay really been going through a renaissance in the last decade. And in the 2010-2014 World Cup, the thing that always hurt Uruguay was there was no midfield. They had a nice defensive setup. I remember Arevalo Rios was in there. They had Diego Forlan back in 2010. But there was always that piece in the middle of the park that was missing to link up the back line and Uruguay going forward. And they finally sorted that out. And that's why I said in my pre-tournament predictions, I said, Uruguay looked like a sleeper team that can go all the way. And this match was exciting. It produced more goals than I thought it would because I thought this was going to be like a 1-0 to Uruguay or something. No, wait, did I predict 2-1? I did predict 2-1. But I thought it was going to go to extra time. But Uruguay won this in 90 minutes. For the most part, defensively speaking, this looked like a chess match between Portugal and Uruguay. And it was just a matter of whose forwards would shine on the day, and sure enough, it was Edson Cavani, and then he came off injured towards the end of the match, heartbreakingly enough, because, again, he might miss the next game against France. Portugal pushed forward, looked for the equalizer. They almost got it. Some scrambles here and there in the box. Muslera looked like he took the knocking. Godin had to take Muslera's goal kicks because Muslera looked injured. So we have to wait and see how Muslera is doing. Grimjow, Jagerjackers, Bernrodi, you guys are Uruguayan. What's the news on Muslera? How's he feeling? Is he going to be fit in time for the quarterfinal? Because, I mean, you don't have him and Cavani. That's a big loss. But in this match, I don't think Portugal underachieved in this World Cup. They went just about as far as a reasonable person would have picked them to, because they came up against a very well-coached Uruguayan side that has the look of a team that could fly really under the radar in this tournament. And for Portugal, well, you finished second in your group behind Spain. Most people on paper had you finishing second. It's not like you went out in the round of 16 to Saudi Arabia or Egypt, or even to a lesser extent to Russia. You went out to the Group A winners, one of only 3 teams to get 9 points from their 3 group games. So this match was always going to be a battle. It was always going to be a coin flip, so to speak. I just gave the edge to Uruguay because I felt like they had that extra something. And sure enough, it showed. Tactically speaking, I honestly don't think Fernando Santos, the Portuguese manager, could have done things much differently. I think he's a great manager. Remember, he's the same guy that won the European Championship with Portugal back in 2016. I think this is just a scenario where you had 2 very good teams on a similar level going up against each other, and one of them had to go home. And in this case, it was Portugal. So, you know, hard luck, but I do think the better team went through. Very interested to see how Uruguay does this tournament. I said before on social media and on Twitter, the team in this tournament, and I've told this to other YouTubers as well, like Dominic Rich FC, I said Uruguay is making me think. There's something about them this year. I think that France are probably favorites to dispatch them in the quarterfinals, but I'm not predicting that yet. I'll get to that when the time comes, but I'm keeping a weary eye on this Uruguayan team. They look suspect, but in a good way.